No, this is the main slide. Okay. So the topic is Islam, and this is really going back to the basics. This is mainly for the kids. I know our friends over here, adults, they know more than me. So it's really to go back to what is Islam at its core. And then basically we get into the nuances of defining what is Islam to us. But what is Islam as Allah created it? So I'm just starting from the very basics, and then the next few slides, most probably I won't get to it today. So that goes into some of the nuances. So the first thing is Allah. Basically, Islam means submission to the will of Allah. Complete submission. So that's what Islam means. And I'll talk about the history of Islam as we went through this slide. But at the core of it is Allah, right? So, just for the kids, we described some of the attributes of Allah just before. Sana and Hania went over some of them. But Allah is basically, as Qul Huwallahu Ahad says in Surah Ikhlas, that He has been there forever. He's going to be there forever. Even forever doesn't really make sense with Allah, because He's the one who created time. So He existed before time existed, and He will exist after time ceased to exist. So you can't even say forever for Him, because that means time, and He's not enclosed into time and space. So both those things are created by Him, and you cannot enclose them. Even if you go to infinity, you can't still enclose Allah into that. So that's basically, so Allah, everybody knows. So what happened is that Allah, as He says in Quran, and I don't have specific ayat over here to reference, but Allah said that He had a plan, which He had a master plan, which is what He calls Lawh Mahfuz, where He has what, when, how, everything recorded. When something is going to happen, who's going to do it, how it's going to happen, all of it is recorded. That's His master plan. So what happened is that He has that master plan. So everything is created for a purpose. That's one major concept that has to be clear. Nothing is created without purpose. Everything is created by purpose, and that purpose and all of that is defined in this Lawh Mahfuz, which only Allah knows, and He controls that. So that's a very important concept, that basically everything is for a purpose. So you cannot, the idea that things happen by accident is not there. There is a purpose for everything, and we'll describe over some more of that. So what happened is that once Allah defined this master plan, then what He did, He created the universe. Now, there are questions about, is there one universe, is there sequential universes, one after the other, one ends, another one starts, are there parallel universes? All of that is possible. What we know is this one universe that we can see. But all of this is possible, that there must have been, or there could have been universes before this universe, there could be universes after this universe, there could be universes in parallel to this universe that we don't know about. So, but Allah created all of those universes, and He created them according to His master plan, which is in Lawh Mahfuz, why He created what He created. And then for administration of this universe, He created angels. So to administer this universe that He's creating and to execute His plan, He has helpers, which we call angels. Now angels, so up till now, when He created the universe, everything was programmed to be submissive to his will. Nobody could go outside of his will. They were completely 100% submitted. So all the objects, which we call the law of nature, everything basically follows the law of nature, which is Allah's will. He said, this is how it's going to work. And it works that way. Then, in the universe, he created some life also on earth. We don't know where else is life, but on earth he created life. Even that initial life was completely submissive to Allah. They had a purpose, and they just fulfilled that purpose, nothing else. They had no option to do anything different. The life and the non-living, everything was completely submissive to Allah for that time. After that, what happened is Allah created two beings, first jinn, and then humans. Now the difference is, up till now, everything was 100% submissive to Allah. Now these two beings, Allah gave them free will. And He said, okay, you can do whatever you want to do. I'll guide you, but you're responsible for what you do. And then I'll follow up with what happens with that. So basically these were the first two beings which had free will, which could go against Allah's will, who were not 100% submissive to Allah. Now, we know what happened to Iblis, who was one of the jinns. We have a description of it in Quran, that he used his free will. He was one of the Muslims. He was submissive to Allah, but then he became proud of what he was made of, and he basically stopped being submissive to Allah, and then basically he was dismissed by Allah from his presence. Now what happens is, when Allah created jinn and insan, He had to guide them, because we'll talk about why it's needed. So He had to document or provide what does He want them to do, what is their purpose, what do they want, what do they need to do, although they have free will, but this is what Allah wants them to do. So He documented that into a book or a set of books. I wouldn't say one book, but based on the progression of the intellect of especially human, it came in different sort of versions to make it complete at the end, the full complete will of Allah. Now He had to send this down somehow. So with the jinn, we don't know how this happened, but with insan, we know the first human that was created sort of had to be bootstrapped, what we call in computer science. So that first human was a Nabi also, because he had to not only learn what is Allah's will, but he had to become the teacher, the first teacher. So it was a bootstrap, what we call. So the first Nabi was Hazrat Adam, who was the first insan also, first human. So Allah created this institution of Nabuwwat, which are basically the teachers of what Allah wants us to do. And basically they taught this book that Allah gave them through their action and descriptions and speeches, and which we call hadith, and different Nabi basically based on the need of their people provided that. And usually, I mean, the book, as you can see on the slides, we have very few words, but I've been speaking for the last 7 minutes. So that's how the Nubuwwat also happened. The book had very specific, basic things, but then the Nabi were the ones who expanded on it and explained what this means and showed what it means. So that's the institution of Nubuwwat. Now this Nubuwwat started from the first human, and it continued until the last prophet, and that was only 1411 years ago. So until 1411 years ago, we had a Nabi coming one after the other for every area and every qawm that was there, every nation. Now once the Nabuwwat ended with our last prophet, Allah created another institution to continue the guidance, which is what we call Imamat, which is basically a support to continue the message brought sent by Allah in the book, preached by the Nabuwwat, and now you're basically completing that message onwards. Now, if Allah says that I want you to do this, but if there are no consequences, then why would you do it, right? So the other important thing that Allah created is this concept of judgment. So this is the other concept, that He provides the guidance, He sent the Nabuwwat, the book, and all that to guide people. And then He said, okay, now you have the knowledge, what I want, what is your purpose, what I want you to do. Now if you don't do it, there will be an exam at the end. And in that exam, I will check were you submissive to me or not. If not, then you will be punished. If you were, then you will be rewarded. So He created this day of judgment. Because in if you take it this as an education, like you go to school, you have a textbook, you have teachers who teach you that textbook, what's the topic, and at the end, there is an exam to evaluate how much you learn, right? So the purpose of exam is to evaluate, basically, how did you do during the course. So the same thing is over here. But the good thing is that Allah at the same time created some other concepts, which is the 99 attributes of Allah, out of which few are very relevant to the Day of Judgment. One of them is Allah, that He is not going to ask you for something that He didn't give you guidance on. Like, for example, He never told you that you have to keep fast in Rabiul Awwal. But on Qiyamah He said, did you fast in Rabiul Awwal? He said, no, He never told me. So He's not going to do that. He's Adil. So He's going to basically judge you on what He has already given you guidance for. The other two important attributes of Allah, which are not here, here is He is Al-Ghafur and Ar-Rahim, which is key to this. Because the main thing is that Allah gives you second chance. So He accepts forgiveness. So especially if you do something in ignorance and then you find out, you can ask for forgiveness and He will forgive you. Not only that, but once you have started to believe and started submitting to Allah, even then if you missed something or did something wrong, you can still ask forgiveness. And the last thing is Ar-Rahim. Even though you may not even know that you've done something wrong, or you don't ask for forgiveness, He is still a Rahim also. So He doesn't punish you unnecessarily. He tries to sort of save you and guide you. So as long as you believe and you're submissive, maybe not 100%, you're a significant percent submissive to Him, He will not punish you for the things that you did which were not according to His will. He's Rahim also. Okay, so we have like 5 minutes. So what I built is what we call usool-e-deen. These are basic beliefs that every Muslim must have. And this is sort of the way, the reason I built it in the building, because this is the building. And everything is holding up Allah. So the main concept is that the submission to Allah, and everything else is supporting that. So, and if you don't believe in any one of them, you really cannot believe in Allah, because that's how He structured it. Now, what we need to do? So first of all, we need to believe in this, right? This is what we call becoming a Muslim. That you know the will of Allah, and you intend to submit to the will of Allah. So that's the first step, that you do the intention, that I'm going to submit to the will of Allah, and you become a Muslim by intention. But that's not enough, because that's the starting point. That's the first step, that you recognize it and you declare that you are going to be submissive to Allah. The next step is to do what Allah has asked you to do. So that's basically, after you've declared it, then basically the goal is to now be submissive to Allah. And that's the toughest part, basically. Because for a minute you can declare and say, I submit. And a lot of people did that. Even Pharaoh, when he was drowning, he said, I'm one of the Muslims. That's exact ayat in Quran, that he said, I'm a Muslim. But Allah said, no, you're not. So becoming a Muslim, it's at 8:50. The Maghrib is 8:50. Okay. So I think that's pretty much, I knew I wouldn't be able to even finish the first one. So the last thing is submission to the will of Allah is rewarded by Him with place in Jannah. So Jannah is the reward. It's not the goal. The goal is submission to Allah. In doing that, in achieving that goal, Allah rewards us with Jannah. So I think we talked about it a little bit earlier also, but if you think Jannah is the goal, you're sort of missing the point. The goal is Allah and submission to Allah, and Jannah is the reward. So inshallah we will go over to the mosque for the Maghrib prayer, and then we'll come here back to do the